Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, for taking the time out of your morning, your afternoon to be with us for your November virtual user group. We've got a lot of great content lined up for you guys today, some new content and exciting things to talk to you guys about. So with that, a couple of housekeeping, and then we'll dive right in. This webinar is being recorded, so you will receive a copy of the recording by tomorrow. It will also be posted on ibi.com under the resource section. You will also be able to find a copy of the recording on our YouTube channel. So those will be three ways that you can access this after we conclude the meeting. For all your questions that you will have for our panelists today, please utilize the Q&A. We will be monitoring that throughout the webinar, and the panelists will take those questions and get those answered for you. So please use the Q&A feature for those. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. I have a couple of things to talk to you guys about, to share with you guys. Let me start my slideshow here. All right, so today's presenters, we've got our let me go back. We've got our panel of experts with us to talk to you guys today. A lot of you already know me. We also have Santos, John, and Anita with us today. And you're getting the best of both worlds. So Santos and John are going to talk to you guys about our newest offering, our IBI Data Intelligence. And then Anita is going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some data profiling and WebFOCUS. So you're getting the best of both today, and we have a lot of great content to share with you guys. Just as a reminder, ibi.com. This is where you should be heading to if you are looking for all things IBI. Out at ibi.com, you can find all of our products and our solutions. You can view customer stories out there. Under the resource section is where you will find all of our recorded user groups, Focus Fridays, and previous webinars that we have offered. And then under the events section is where you'll find the upcoming events. So any user groups that are scheduled, any future webinars, any of the Focus Fridays, that is where you will go out and register for those type of events. At the bottom of the page, you can access support. That is available. There's a link there for you to, it takes you out to support so you can put in your tickets. If you're having any issues or challenges, be sure to visit that. And speaking of ibi.com, we will be having a new revamped ibi.com coming soon. This is just a little sneak peek of the look and feel that's coming, and some new features that you'll see on the new ibi.com. We'll have additional product documentation out there. We have heard you guys loud and clear. We will have training and education available to you guys. We know that's been something that's been missing for the last couple of years since we've been through all the transitions. So you will have some education and training opportunities that will be presented to you. I know I mentioned this at the last user group. We have a new IBI community coming. Yes, you heard me right. We are moving off of the TIBCO community, and we are bringing back our own IBI community. I don't have a screenshot to show you guys today, but please know that it is coming, and we're excited about it. It will be back to IBI products and solutions. You'll have your WebFOCUS out there. You'll have your iWay out there, the different products and solutions that you guys will be able to access. You will still be able to access support, find upcoming events, as well as all the on-demand webinars and our customer stories. So just a little sneak peek into the new website. And speaking of events, so finishing out 2023, as we are almost done with this fabulous year, we have a few webinars and user groups left in the tank. Next week, we have a webinar with Dresner that you guys can go out and register for. We have Michael Moran and Porter leading that webinar to talk about your data management strategies that drive your BI success. So if you're interested, head out to the website, get registered for that event. And the Walters and Mark will be hosting their November Focus Friday, talking about drill downs, hidden gems, and dialogue manager. So if you're interested in attending those next week, be sure to register. And then for December, we'll have our Focus Friday, as well as your monthly virtual user group. The topic for December will kind of be the best of 2023, kind of a recap of some of our more popular topics that we've covered this year. So that will finish us out for 2023. And looking forward to 2024, a couple of things, we want to let you guys know that are staying and what's coming. So you will continue to have your virtual monthly user groups in 2024 with those topics rotating around WebFOCUS, DI, iWay, MDM. So all of our products and solutions. The Walters and Mark will continue the Focus Fridays around the focus language. And please remember that those sessions are typically a little bit more technical, so just keep that in mind. And then last user group, we announced that we are bringing a mini summit to you guys on the road. We'll be kicking off our 2024 roadshow series, where these roadshows are designed to mimic a mini summit. This will be select cities across North America, and we will also do one in Europe. You can expect for these to be about a day, maybe a day and a half. But all the great aspects that you had at Summit. So you will see some IBI presentations, you will have the hands-on lab, so you'll get that training. You'll have expert time, opportunities to network with your peers. You'll hear from other customers. So it'll be a great time. We will have this schedule up for you guys by the end of the year, so that way you can plan with your team, plan with your management. If you're needing to travel to one of the cities to attend one of these road shows, so we'll make sure that this is in front of you with well enough advance so that you can plan accordingly, so that you guys can attend if a road show is anywhere near, or if you'd like to travel to where one is. So more to come on the road show. And then, as I had mentioned, with community. So for now, for a little bit longer, bear with us. We are still on the TIBCO community. So you guys still have access to this. You're still able to go out there and log in and use the TIBCO community right now, which we still have, the WebFOCUS portal in there, where you guys have been talking through technical threads and things like that. But rest assured, we do have the new one coming. We are looking at a April-May launch. We did get moved a little bit in the queue. We thought we would be able to roll this out a little bit sooner, but we are looking at an April-May launch, so bear with us for a couple of more months, and we'll have some more information and some sneak peeks to show you guys about the new community. But for now, you can still utilize the TIBCO community and still go out to the WebFOCUS portal, where you can still engage with other community members and partake in the discussions. And just as a reminder for social media, if you guys are out there on social media, you can follow us on LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, and our YouTube channel. I know a lot of you guys already subscribe to our LinkedIn, but if you haven't subscribed to us on X or YouTube, be sure to. YouTube is also where we're posting a lot of our webinars and the user groups and things like that. So that's another place that you can access those recordings as well. And LinkedIn, as you guys probably know, we post all of our upcoming things and blogs and press releases, things like that. So be sure to subscribe and follow us. And just as a reminder for the Tech Refresh program, for anyone who is still looking to upgrade to WebFOCUS 9, Dan Ortolani's team is heading this program up, and it is an effective, fast, and pain-free way to upgrade to WebFOCUS 9. So if you guys are interested, please mention that on your evaluation form that I send out at the end of the meeting, and Dan's team will get in touch with you so they can start this process, walk you guys through it, what it entails. But it's a 3-stage process, so it's pretty simple. They've really refined it to make this an easy process for you guys. So if you're interested, let us know. And for now, we're still on the TIBCO Academy. We do have a couple of self-paced e-learning courses out there just to kind of get you guys started. But as I mentioned at the beginning, we have heard you guys loud and clear. You will, starting in 2024, you will have more training and more education that will be offered to you. So we're excited to roll out that program and get you guys started with that information. So stay tuned. Lots of good things coming for 2024. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Santosh to kick it off. Just as a reminder, I will send a link to the evaluation after the meeting. If you wouldn't mind, please take in a few moments, fill it out. Your feedback is very important to us. All right, Santosh, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Thank you, sure. Let's see. Just a quick check. You guys can see my deck.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is really exciting day for us at IBI. We've been working for the past few months on a formal launch for our unified data intelligence platform. I can finally share with you the good news. It's a brand new offering that we're launching end of this month. It's an offering that brings together years of experience and expertise in managing data into a single, simplified, and modern data solution. What it has is an integrated offering. It brings together diverse data management capabilities, some of which is familiar to you in the space of application integration, in the space of data integration. We're adding powerful data transformation technology, powerful change data capture engine in the stack. We are bringing together our master data management and data quality engines together, and we're creating a single scalable cloud-ready solution for you. With this new offering, we firmly believe that our customers will leverage diverse data services at lower cost, will achieve higher operational efficiency and higher productivity through seamless operations that come together in a unified ecosystem. So looking at the agenda, I will take a look at the top data management use cases. I'll go through the differences between a fragmented and the fragmented data strategy and the challenges with it. I'll look at a unified solution, how we came across, what are the benefits of a unified data solution, and what factors drove towards this unification of our data platform into a single sustainable ecosystem. And then finally, we will wrap up with the product demo. So let's get on with it. Some of you are analytics users, some of you are data champions, and some of you wear multiple hats in your organization. Regardless of what your role is, you deal with data, and you're part of your organization's data and analytics story. From our experience, more often than not, data becomes a villain in your story. Maybe it's locked somewhere and you don't have access to it. Maybe you have access to it, but you don't know how to decode it, how to interpret it, how to move it, secure it, leverage it. You cannot accurately predict your customer behavior, or you cannot diagnose reasons for customer churn because you don't have the complete view of your customer data. You can't deliver meaningful and actionable insights because your data has deficiencies that introduces bias in your prediction model. Poor and incomplete data, it's an age-old story, poor and incomplete data holds your data analytics strategy as hostage. You also need the right security policies in place, and above and beyond your data management capabilities, you need the security policies to prevent misuse or to prevent data leaks. You need the right governance framework in place to manage unforeseen data incidents, for example. So with all these billions of data points generated, collected, and stored, managed by your business every day, you have data chaos. And in order to transition into a well-organized and efficient data management environment, you need a data strategy that gives you all of these capabilities: data integration, data unification. You need an access layer, you need a governance framework, a scalable infrastructure, robust data management practices, yada, yada, yada. But the key to this data strategy is if you need to put this strategy into motion, you need more budget, you need more resources, more people, more training, more of everything. And what we have seen, the most common approach taken by businesses to deliver these diverse capabilities is what I call the fragmented approach. And there is a good rationale for that approach. Maybe you don't have the budget to buy multiple tools and software. You don't have the resources to build the infrastructure and deploy these applications. Maybe you have fewer needs today and you cannot predict your future needs. But this investment in this, what I call isolated solutions, really create siloed environments. And I'm going to talk to you, or this slide just covers some of the top pain areas. When you have isolated solutions that don't talk to each other, they don't play with each other, and sometimes you as a data consumer, you're not aware that your organization has invested in building these different solutions. Managing these multiple solutions is highly complex, complex to integrate, complex to maintain, complex to support. You probably will have to invest more time and money to transform and transfer data and integrate that data between different systems, which will probably lead to newer problems such as poor data quality, data duplication, and data consistency issues. And with each new software solution that you introduce in your landscape, you'll have growing licensing fees, maintenance, and support costs. You'll have a need for a dedicated team to manage different vendor relationships. You will have to train different groups of users and administrators. They'll have to learn and manage multiple tools, which is a time-consuming and expensive process, and it potentially creates more skill gaps and extends into a longer training periods. You'll also have redundancy, data redundancy with increased storage costs. Your developers and your users will end up building similar assets, similar projects to map, transfer, unify data in different places. And that time and effort spent on redundant tasks will lead to operational inefficiencies. Just to summarize, I'll use this football season. I'll always love this football analogy. Fragmented data strategy is equivalent to having your offense, defense, and special teams playing as three different teams with different strategies and divided focus. They don't feed off each other's strengths, neither make up for the weaknesses. So in order to deliver the desired business outcomes or drive towards your objectives, you need a strategy. You need a strategy that brings together these teams together under a centralized command and control. So all the three teams play on the same team and they have a single business objective. So let's take a look at what I call a unified solution. And to introduce this concept of the unified data solution, I'm going to use the flywheel analogy. I like that analogy a lot. The flywheel analogy, I'm going to use it to describe how a unified solution can create a flourishing and a sustainable data ecosystem. Imagine a flywheel that's heavy spinning wheel that stores energy. As it turns, it becomes more and more efficient and powerful with each rotation. In the realm of data management, creating a unified data solution is equivalent to harnessing the power of such a flywheel. Just as a flywheel's motion gathers momentum, when you tap into new data sources and integrate them, your data flows seamlessly between different application systems, propelling efficiency across the board. Your data quality acts as a balancing force for sustained motion, ensuring that your data remains accurate, reliable. It counteracts the forces of data entropy, guaranteeing consistent performance. Your master data management or master data investment in master data management becomes the axis that maintains the stability. It will foster more and more data consistency. It will bring cohesion across the organization. And as your flywheel spins faster, you will be delivering more value to your customers with minimal friction and optimized processes. So your customers will start experiencing the benefits sooner. So as you start to harness the power of continuous improvement, you'll get an ongoing cycle of continuous feedbacks, insights, product enhancements. You can fuel improvements across the entire data system, ensuring that your flywheel keeps turning even with greater efficiency with each and every turn. So just to summarize, just like a flywheel, a unified data solution will steadily build value, drive efficiency by uniting the diverse facets of your data management, resulting in meaningful and measurable improvements. What are those improvements? Cost savings, higher productivity, improved outcomes, creating a more and more value for your business as well as for your customers. Introducing what I call the data flywheel from IBI, IBI Data Intelligence. This is going to, I strongly believe this is going to power your next generation of data products, and it's going to become a cornerstone of your data strategy. What we have done with IBI Data Intelligence is we have packaged powerful application integration tool, which will serve as a backbone connecting your diverse applications into a unified data ecosystem. We have added a fast, scalable ETL engine So you can transform and move data between these systems. We have a strong defense in data quality. It prevents bad data from entering your critical decision-making system. It improves consistency, accuracy. It cleanses, validates, enriches your data. Make sure that your decisions that you're making on your data are based on trustworthy, reliable information. We have a powerful AI-enabled match engine that will aggregate and unify your data, to harmonize information across different data sources into a single set of canonical data entities. It will manage the relationships between these entities. It will add more and more business context and relevance for you. We have an intelligent search engine. It will help your data consumers find and access these critical business assets. And overall, we have data governance framework where you can deploy customized business workflows, you can enforce policies, ensure compliance. So with this new offering and a wide set of diverse data capabilities that we bring to you in a single unified product, we strongly believe this will deliver the best value for our customers. You will have unrestricted access to the entire data management portfolio. Everything we have offered today, plus new features, capabilities that we will deliver in future. You have unrestricted access. You have the agility to scale up your data operations without worrying about additional software licenses or processor-based restrictions. It's a unique way to start small, where we meet you where you are in your data journey, and we grow. We help you grow by scaling up your operations. We help you grow by scaling up your resources to meet your SLAs. We have added centralized command and control features. Centralized user administration. That's one place where you will manage the users across the entire data stack. We have enabled single sign-on. Your users will log in only once, and they can seamlessly navigate between the different application UIs. We have created a ton of reusable components across the stack, so you can start building and deploying applications and projects faster than ever before. We have reduced the technical barriers to adoption through lots and lots of browser-based, no-code, low-code UI features. We want our end users to be independent, successful. We want to see rapid adoption and a lot of collaboration, both between the technical community of users and your business partners. We are delivering a fully integrated product covering 4 major domains of data management with simplified, single cloud-native deployment. And finally, we are simplifying the pricing model. We are getting into a tiered consumption model where you can start with the plan that best suits your current needs and upgrade to a higher tier when your usage exceeds the plan thresholds. So it's very simple. We have a nice little estimator that we will, as we evaluate opportunities, we'll show you how your usage falls in a given plan. And when your usage exceeds, or when your business grows, you upgrade to a higher tier. Also, by unifying these multidisciplinary products, from my standpoint, I will be better positioned to close a lot of feature product gaps. I'll be able to simplify and accelerate product migration paths going forward. To summarize, IBI Data Intelligence is a unified and a holistic data solution that will streamline your operations, will enhance decision-making, and maximize efficiency for data-driven organization like yours. To conclude, this is the call to action. We are invested in your success because when you excel, we excel. We want you to be an early adopter. So you get a seat at the table, you get to influence the product roadmaps, you get to partner with us on innovative solutions. So if you're using any of our data products, whether it's ISM, Data Migrator, Data Quality, MDM, reach out to us or to your trusted IBI advisor. We would like to explore opportunities to expand usage. We want to create a path so we can migrate you to this new platform. We put together a tech refresh team, and we are rolling out a tech refresh program that will help you through this migration process. If you are on the WebFOCUS side, let's initiate a discovery workshop. And I understand there are data issues that affect your ability to generate the right business insights. So let's go through a discovery workshop and formulate a tailored plan where you can leverage IBI data intelligence and solve all of your data challenges. So with that, before I go into the demo, I'll be looking at the Q&A, but please feel free to reach out to me or anyone on this team if you have any questions or you need more information on this brand new offering that's launching end of this month. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Santosh. I'm going to go ahead and take it over from here to move towards the demonstration. All right. Excuse me. So, as Santos mentioned, one of the things that we want to point out here is that, right, from an IBI data intelligence standpoint, you're looking at a unified platform, right? So what you see here are the cards specific to the data services that are grouped and have that ability to access the various options and various services that we would have, right? I do want to note that these capabilities that you see here, right, they're intertwined and they're integrated so that as you're loading data into the data intelligence platform, you'll see that there are services such as data quality rules and cleansing rules that would be applied as part of this overall program. Now, Santosh mentioned that, as part of the unified stack, we would have the ability to go about and administer from a unified perspective, right? So just from, I'm sorry. Just from that particular environment here, you'd be able to see that here we have that full list of users and where we can start to provision users across the various roles that they would have and the various accesses that they would need to see. So as part of this particular demonstration, I will let you know that I've already preloaded a data set and preloaded actually a whole model for us to kind of interpret and review. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. So as we start to step into the process and monitor area of this particular data intelligence stack, what you'll notice is that this will have the indicators to show what data has been loaded in terms of master data or transactional data, right? So this gives administrators the ability to understand and also know which particular elements are cleansed and or mastered in this sense, right? So for each of these, really the takeaway for here to be able to move into data intelligence is that we are establishing that common approach for the process to load and orchestrate data across, right? So we want to automate really the boring stuff, right? So we want to make sure that your data is clean. You want to make sure that it's being loaded on a regular cadence or regular basis, and that's exactly what we would see here, right? Especially for master data, right? We want to make sure that it conforms to the specific enterprise rules that we've established for a given master data domain. So as an example, if we were to take a look at customer, what we can see here is that for a given workflow, we would be able to see the specific operations that would take place to cleanse and define a particular master data element in a master data domain, making sure that it hits these particular gaps. Now, at any point in time, if we needed to toggle different options and change the way that we're processing a workflow, we can certainly do that. One other item to note here is that not only is this able to be processed from a batch perspective, but we can start to leverage this to perform real-time integration using XML paths to be able to process this on a regular basis. Now, furthermore, as we're starting to look at a specific customer or specific domain, we can take a look at what has been processed, right? So if you want to start getting down from an administration level to understand what does it look like when things are moving along within my system, then I'd be able to take a look at that, right? So as an example, I'm going to take a look at what it looks like when we're actually processing data. And what we can see here are there are particular work orders that have been established as I've kicked off those particular batches. And then for each of these particular work orders, we're able to see the detail of those particular process flow and orchestration steps, right? So we're able to see that, hey, the processes and the steps that we have defined for this particular element, right, those are going through and they're actually being processed as needed. Furthermore, we can start to see the measures across, right? So now we start to see that lineage in terms of the number of records that I started out with to get to that list of finalized master data elements. So from this aspect here, right, this is primarily the idea here is to be able for an administrator to understand the orchestration behind the scenes and really, I haven't necessarily had to build any additional ETL in this perspective, right? All I've done is defined particularly the domain that I wanted to establish and make sure that it conforms to these particular elements and it's going to go ahead and process and work through my automation phase. Now from here, the next step would be, once I've orchestrated this, once it's been loaded, I want to be able to actually browse and kind of search through whatever I've established. So that's what we'll go to within this data governance aspect. Now, from a data governance perspective, what you'll see here is that one, we'll have the indicators for particular elements that potentially have come back, right? So if there are errors within a matching routine that has occurred, we'll start to see those and those will flow through kind of a remediation path. Furthermore, if we wanted to see any issues related to data quality, we'd be able to kind of capture that information here as well, right? So before I step into that particular remediation, let's go ahead and just take a look at what we see from a customer perspective, right? So initially, we want to understand, hey, what is actually available within my customer data, right? And this is where the enterprise search comes into play. So what we see here is that we have the ability to perform text search across the board for our entire customer domain. So whether that be just kind of searching within a free form text, and we can just search and we'd be able to see that. But if we wanted to go even further into potentially just looking at particular attributes, we can certainly do that too, right? So there are fixed attributes for a particular customer, or even if we wanted to go down an even further path, we can certainly just move to a browse and search pattern where we just look at all of the customer records. So in this case, right, this gives us different varying degrees of search that we can kind of establish and use. So now before I go back, I'd just like to step into a particular record and let's take a look at some of those let's take a look at those records and understand, what we're seeing here. So right now I'm going to take a look at particularly a customer record that has been, I believe that in this particular sense, this customer has been combined into, this customer record has actually been combined from other instances, right? So we see the master data that here has occurred. However, if we take a look at our instances, what we can see here is there are multiple instances that are available. So we'll go through and actually do a quick comparison. And now what I can see is that if I scroll down to the customer details, I'll be able to see my master record and then the differences across the board for each of these particular elements that have been loaded in, right? So this gives me a good indicator, hey, if I'm trying to track what my master record looks like, where the breakdown has occurred, potentially where the differences may lie, and furthermore, if I get a message within my inbox that says, "Hey, I need to I need to investigate a particular data source," then I know that I can come into here and take a look at those particular data sources and look at those elements that have been pulled in. So this gives us that consolidated state in terms of being able to, again, really define and understand what's shown from that master data perspective. But furthermore, what I want to point out here is that, right, the data that has been loaded would have been integrated as part of this overall process to leverage the data quality process as well, right? So now Anita will be stepping into in the next session here. Anita will be stepping into profiling overall from a WebFOCUS and analytics perspective. But what I want to point out here is that this is really a complement to that particular element, right? So if you're thinking about enterprise data quality across the board, to be able to reuse data quality rules and cleansing rules for not just a single application, but applications across your organization, this is where you would kind of define those elements. So as we step into the data quality area, what you'll see here is that not only do you have a user interface that is very similar, unified to the data intelligence platform, but also able to be called across the board, right? So from this instance, what we'll see here is that there are particular elements that have been leveraged to process through. And as part of the out-of-the-box capabilities that we deliver a data quality rule set that comes out of the box with a variety of rules and rules catalog that can be searched for, right? So if we were looking to potentially cleanse addresses, we can certainly see that and take a look at the various elements that are available here. So whether that be email addresses, phone numbers, and so forth, right? Notice that for each of these particular rules, what you're seeing here is there's metadata associated to this that would describe that particular rule set and also allow you to address the particular entity and so forth, right? So if you think about data quality overall as a perspective, the intent here is that we have multiple rules that can be leveraged that are built off of a single service. So you could basically be building a service for essentially the same address, but across different countries, right? So if you would want to build an address cleansing feature for, just a single for the common elements across the board, but you would just use, a parameter-driven approach to change the country, then you can certainly do that. So now you can start to validate across that intent. But furthermore, if you were to understand, data profile, or I'm sorry, data quality for over time across that, that's where you would kind of lean into this here. So from a perspective of looking at understanding data quality over time, here's where we can really start to expand upon that, right? So what we see here is that, the data intelligence platform, right, and the data quality that it delivers, right, not only can it take a look at profiling scores over time, but it can also look at the data quality scores over time, which will now allow us to kind of address and observe, okay, how am I doing in terms of my data quality across my organization, right? So this really starts to blend into the whole aspect of making sure that, as data as being a team sport, you'll now have that full capability to not only measure it at the time that it occurs, but also measure it behind, right? So making sure that all of the folks are aware in terms of this particular aspect to make sure that they're doing their part to make sure that data as a whole is going to be encapsulated throughout your data intelligence platform, right? So overall, those are some of the main features that we have available to you today. But again, this is really a complement to what you would have from WebFOCUS and overall looking at your data strategy as a whole to make sure that you can start to leverage not only data quality, but master data management and just from your overall approach to make sure that the data that you have moving in and that would be floated downstream or upstream in this sense would be able to be available and made for a purposeful environment for you to use. Okay.
While you're on that screen, I just want to call out a few things that we are doing.
Sure.
This is the first release. As you can see, we have different unification paths that we're following. Eventually, you'll start seeing application integration, data integration, common set of resource utilization, monitoring, and event management, all coming together in this one space. So look forward to the next 6 to 12 months. There's a lot more coming out and as part of the data intelligence platform. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Santosh. Appreciate it. Okay. And with that, I will be turning it over to Anita.
Thank you, John.
Welcome.
So in this session, or in my section rather, I'm going to focus on the data profiling capabilities of WebFOCUS. Now, what you're seeing here is a list of master files, and I'm going to be working with this particular data set. Let's just take a look at the sample data so you understand what this is about. This data set contains information about patient appointments at a given facility. So it has information about the servicing provider, the NPI number, the name. Also, when the appointment was made, the date, the time, the day of the week. Notice these can be decomposed. For example, day of the week can be decomposed in the WebFOCUS metadata. There's also patient identifier information, their medical record number, some demographics, referring provider. Some records don't have a referring provider. Then there's also information about how far in advance the appointment was made, the insurance type, and a field called complete. So this is the data set that I'm working with. To do profiling, I just select the master file in question, go to profiling, and I can just do statistics. And data profiling is a way to explore and understand the characteristics of the data. It provides information about the data type, how many unique counts, nulls, what are the frequent values, and much more. You'll notice that for fields that are alphanumeric, you can also start to look at the patterns in the data. For numeric fields, it shows you what's the minimum value, the max value, as well as the average value. Now, there are many ways that you can actually visually represent the results of data profiling. And let's look at a few of those. For instance, if I select the age field, I can now do a distribution chart. So this is now visually representing what's in this data set. Here we have a skewed histogram, and the majority of the patient appointments are for patients in the age range of, say, 50 through about 70 years. Looking at a different field, this time let's look at, say, day of the week. And here, what I could also do is something like the frequent values chart. So this gives me a sense, again, a bar chart display, or if you want to view this more as a pie chart, you could do this as a pie chart. Again, different ways of visually representing and understanding what's in this data set. So you'll notice that for this particular file, the appointments are between Monday through Friday. There are no weekend appointments in this data set. There's a field called insurance type. And you'll notice this is a character field. There are 9 patterns in my data set. So if you want to look at the patterns, you can just select that. So looking at the values for this particular field, I've got, in this case, 9 unique patterns or values. And there are some records where I have Blue Cross Blue Shield explicitly spelled out, versus some records where it's abbreviated. We're not really looking at this as necessarily a data quality, but if we want to, we may want to standardize on how we represent these different insurance values. And finally, the field that I want to focus on is this field called complete. So in my data, this complete field is what represents if an appointment was completed or not, right? So it has just two unique values, 0 and 1. And what the reason it shows this particular file for for today's session is because what I want to do with this particular data set is build a model to predict no-shows. Obviously, no-shows has an impact on the revenue for the physicians. So the reason I picked this file is because I want to predict this. Going back to my data panel, I can, since I want to build a model, what I'm going to do next is let's start to build a flow. A flow is, if you worked with Data Migrator, a flow is where you select a data source, and then you can have some rules or conditions to select just certain records that you may want to populate into, say, a target data source or a data mart. And that's kind of what I want to do here when I build a flow, because I want to select a data set that I want to use to build my predictive model. If you have a large data set, you can do representative sampling. So if you're familiar with Data Migrator, then you can see how this data flow is very similar to what you've seen before. So here I'm just selecting the columns the same way as doing a sample data set. The nice thing about the flow is while I'm doing my flow, if I wanted to profile the data, I could profile it as part of this sort of in the flow process. So when I invoke the profiling from within the, in this case, the flow, what you see at a glance is the distribution chart for each of the fields in my data set, right? Rather than how I individually selected the field and then looked at distribution charts or outliers. Here, at a glance, I can look at the distribution chart for all of my fields. Now I have appointment ID, and I see that I have a record with a null value. And what I can do here is, as part of the flow process, if I want to exclude the null value, I can, in the profiling step, select the field and the value that I want and use it as a filter criteria to continue with my flow process or my field selection or filter criteria, if you will. Once again, you can start to see the various distribution characteristic, zip code. I've got a lot of different records in the zip code. And as I hover over, what this tells me is that about 90% of my, or 80 to 90% of all of the appointments are coming from a handful of zip codes. So that's all I want to do at this point as part of profiling. And let me continue with the rest of what I want to do, which is to build a data model. So in this case, I want to do a binary classification. And as I select my model, it brings up this, this pop-up window, and it allows me to select the field I want for my target. This is what I want to predict. In this case, I want to choose my complete field as a field that I want to create to build my model or predict. And then I have all the other fields in my data set, and I can select all of them, or I can just pick and choose the fields that I want to consider as the predictors for this model. So let's go ahead and select a few. This is my first round, so I don't, this may not be the final one, but let's pick a few of those. Again, you'll notice that I've got appointment date, but I also have decomposed the date into day of the week and the time of the appointment to hour of the day. So I'm just going to select those two fields as my predictor field. Then I'm going to select some of my the demographic information about the patient. Let's look at referring provider. I understand that some fields are missing values or nulls. Let's also look at days from how far in advance the appointment was made, insurance type. I think I'm good with the fields. Now I can go ahead and apply and then build my training model. So what's happening now at this point is behind the scenes, it is going to run multiple models against this data set. and it'll provide a comparison of the models. While that is running in the background, let's just focus on the model evaluation component. Now, when you, again, as I mentioned, you're going to run multiple models, and for each of the model, it'll show you a number of components: the accuracy, the precision, and of course, the F1 score. The model that you choose for your final deployment will depend on what is it that you're trying to predict, and the impact of the false positives or false negatives on your business. So you could choose a model where accuracy is the most important one, or maybe you want to look at a model where precision is more important. Okay? So I just want to show you that when we run these models and look at the evaluation criteria for each of these, you will see accuracy, precision, and the F1 score. It is still it's still running. It's I think it's complete. Yeah, just about done. All right, let's go back and look at the 3 models that were run against this particular data set. Notice for each of them, I've got the F1 score. It shows me accuracy, precision, and recall for each of these 3 models. Let's go ahead and look at the details of some of these models. So the first one, the logistic regression model, and I can look at, again, in this case, the evaluation criteria for this model. The confusion matrix, so it gives me a sense of how many true positives and true negatives are predicted by this model. Let's look at a different one. In this case, I want to look at random forest. And once again, we can look at the confusion matrix, the evaluation. But the reason I picked this one is this also shows me the feature importance. So given this particular data set, I can see the relevance of the various fields that were included in this model build process. Now, today's session is not about building predictive models, but I wanted to highlight this example because as I look at my data set, the how far in advance the appointment is made, it seems to be the most significant factor. But some of the other factors that are included that are relevant for this model includes the servicing NPI, the zip code, and so forth. In my data set, I think I had about maybe 9% of my records that was missing the zip code. What I had when I got the original extract from a customer, or in this case, maybe one of your customers sending you, the file extracts on a periodic basis, it might have had a partial address. Maybe it was missing the zip code or missing the name of the city. And as part of the data, as you profile the data and as part of the data cleansing process, what you want to do is to look at this address field, to standardize it, and then to validate this address against data sets. John talked about how you can have rules very specific for address cleansing, and it can be parameterized. So you could select just the country that you want, and or some other filter criteria, and then it applies the rules. So what happened in my data set is using the partial address set, it standardized it, it cleansed it, it validated it, and now I was able to get the zip codes for most of the records in my data set. And this model run has shown that this is an important or a relevant factor in the model building process, right? So while you can do profiling in WebFOCUS, and you can address some of the data issues within WebFOCUS. For example, in my data, I showed you that we had some records spelled out Blue Cross Blue Shield, some records abbreviated as BCBS. Yes, in WebFOCUS, you can kind of standardize it, but you can also have these rules outside of WebFOCUS that would do all of the data cleansing, standardization, and where applicable for very specific subjects, do the mastering of those subjects as well. And then when you use it within WebFOCUS for your analytic purposes, you've got a clean data set to work with. So going back and just talking about or touching upon a few points, I want to look at a slightly different scenario. So in this case, I got two different data extract files from two different agencies. When the customer who sent this file created this data extract, one of them, as part of the extract process, what they did is if you notice, file 1 has first name, last name. File 2 has, in this case, as part of the extract process, they concatenated the last name, put a comma, then the first name. So in my analytics, if I needed to do, say, mastering, and I want to concatenate, say, these two files, I'm going to have names that probably wouldn't match because it's not, in this case, the names have been transposed. So the idea behind the larger data intelligence capability is to address any data quality issues before you bring it into your analysis. So in my data set, if I had this data names transposed, it turns out this file has 3 different name fields. I've got the servicing provider, I've got the referring provider, and I have the name of the scheduler. Can I do this data transpose in WebFOCUS? Absolutely, yes. I do this as a defined field, right? I can look for the comma in that character string, take the first component, move it to the last. Yes, I can do it in WebFOCUS. But I would have to do it as a defined field for each of my 3 name fields. In this particular data set, I also had the NPI number. What I couldn't do with WebFOCUS is to validate if this number was actually correct. As part of the data quality rules, you can actually have lookups to external systems that can validate things like the NPI number. So if I want to do sort of it's not a complete comparison of WebFOCUS profiling versus using IBI data intelligence with WebFOCUS, but really within WebFOCUS profiling, the first thing is you need to have a master file. I mean, think about it. Whatever you do in WebFOCUS, you have to have the master file that describes all of the data elements. And you can do profiling as part of your flow process. You can do profiling outside of your flow process. And if you want to address some of the issues that you see in data while you profile, you do it as defined fields in WebFOCUS. Versus with the data intelligence components feeding the data into WebFOCUS, now you have a rules-driven data quality that you can apply to any field for any data set that you are working with. And obviously, there's a way to cleanse, standardize, and enrich these data inputs, including if you've got the address, you can geocode it. So now you can start to do geospatial analysis with WebFOCUS. And of course, there's the entire monitoring and issue management that we don't have with WebFOCUS. So at this point, let me turn it back over to, was it John or Shay? Yes,
Thanks,
Shay.
Anita.
Yeah.
Any questions? Oh, yes, Anita, you do have a question here if you'd like to answer this. In the IBI WebFOCUS Hub, you can choose to create a procedure in a text editor. That is a specific product we are hoping we can get a dark theme for. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe that was a reference to Santosh and John talking to this person about dark themes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions for Anita, Santosh, or John? Don't be shy, guys. Submit your questions. They're here to answer. Thank you, Eric. He said, neat little demo. All right, guys. We have a quiet crowd today.
I guess everybody's getting ready for the holidays.
I know we don't have polling today, but I'm just curious, if in our audience today, how many are on the analytics side versus on the data management? Do we have show of hands?
They could
For-
raise, yeah, if you want to phrase that, Anita, we could ask them to raise their
Yes.
hand.
Yeah, so I'm curious, among the audience today, how many of you are on the say the data management side? Just raise your hand
Okay.
down at the bottom. Yes.
Yep. If you are part of the data management side, could you please raise your hand or use the little raise hand icon? You have a couple of people coming into the Q&A saying that they're in both buckets.
Okay.
Well, we would like to see everyone in both buckets.
Both. Yeah.
Jamil, he's on the analytics side, but he wants to engage the data management as well.
Perfect.
Good to see you, Jamil. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for showing show of hands for that question for Anita. Any other final questions you have for the team? We're happy we have the time. So if you guys have any other questions for them, we can take those right now. Oh, here's one. How will the data intelligence product be licensed for those of us primarily using Data Migrator, or do we know yet?
Well, we have a estimator, so we'll engage with you. We'll look at your current use cases as well as what you anticipate as your near-term use cases, and then we'll come up with a recommendation. Those are two different licensing models, and one gives you access to a lot of components and it's tiered at a consumption level. Maybe you have other struggles around, I cannot scale up because I have processor-based restrictions, and you're looking at going to an unrestricted access mode, or maybe you're happy with the current usage and you are trying to establish a path where you can use other products. So we'll have to do a due discovery with you guys, and that's going to be interesting. We are going to learn a lot more about your usage of that.
I would just add to that. So with the new WebFOCUS subscription, you get Data Migrator, right? So if you're only looking at it from the point of view of building your data marts, that's kind of covered in your WebFOCUS subscription license. The idea of data intelligence is you want to address many of the data issues that you see. Okay, so it's not just about creating newer data sources or doing ETL. So that's where the Data Migrator as part of the IBI data intelligence is viewed differently.
Great, thank you both for addressing that. All right, guys. Well, if there are no additional questions for our panel, we will happily give you guys some time back. Just as a reminder, again, this was recorded, so you will receive a copy from me by tomorrow morning in your inbox, and I will also include any presentations that were shown today. Obviously, we can't send anything that was a demo, but any PowerPoints we will include. And then also, I totally forgot to mention this at the beginning. I don't know if some of you might have caught this. My last name has changed. I have recently gotten married. So as I go through the name change and you receive communication from me, don't disregard the email. It's still me. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up in case you see that a different name coming through. Eric, yes, the demo will be on YouTube. So again, we will upload it to the YouTube channel as well as out there on ibi.com. I will send out the link to the evaluation form immediately. So if you guys could please take a moment, fill that out for us. We greatly, greatly appreciate it because your feedback is super important. So with that, we'll go ahead and give you guys some of your day back. And again, we thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Anita, John, and Santosh, for wonderful content. Thank you for putting that together for everyone. And we will see you guys next month.